Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Today I Want to Be Career Exploration Interview. I'm so excited about our guest here today. She is actually a fashion, beauty, and lifestyle blogger. So I know that so many times we see people on YouTube, we see people blogging, and we're like, man, what does their life look like? Today is your day to actually ask our guest, Shureka Ward, questions. I also have my co-host Asha here on the show as well. Now make sure you go ahead and share this video so that more people will know about Shureka and how they can stay in touch with her as well. Gather your kids, gather your students. I'm always hesitant to put kids because people could be like me. They like, I don't have no kids, but I don't want nobody to feel like, oh, well, I don't know anybody. You do. You might have a niece, you might have a nephew, that they can ask Shureka some questions as well. Don't be afraid. Give us a shout out in the virtual world. Just let us know that you are here in the house. Also, all of Shureka's contact information is listed in the description box. So you don't even have to guess and wonder, how do I get in touch with her? It's in the description box. You don't have to ask any questions. So Shureka and Asha, thank you guys so much for joining again. Shureka, let's start with you. Can you go ahead and
Yes.
let the viewers know just a little bit more about yourself and how long you've been a blogger?
Hello, hello, beautiful people. So I have been blogging now, y'all, for probably the last few years, okay? And I would probably say within like the last year and a half, it's become something that I'm, more focused on, succeeding with, okay? It honestly started out as just like a hobby. There's so many things that we can do to pass time. We can read books. Lots of us like to write. If so, then if you like to read and write, it's just kind of one of those things you're like, oh, let me blog. I can give
Yeah.
some information to the people that they may find interesting. So I initially just kind of started doing it as a hobby, but then I started to study it more, just like you would study any other craft. And I learned that there's just so much that can be done
Yeah.
as a blogger, as an influencer, as a YouTuber. I will be the first to admit I used to be that person, like many of you out there, that were probably looking at YouTubers like, get a real job, like go do
Yeah.
something from 8 to 5, like most of us do, and make a living that way, because we were looking at it, I guess, more so as a hobby.
Mhm.
But then when I started to kind of dive a little bit deeper into it, I was like, no, honey, this is a real job.
Mhm.
So, I started to engulf myself in it more, and I became far more interested than I was when it was initially just a hobby,
That's
because
good.
people actually build brands as a YouTuber, as an influencer. So, don't be too quick to judge us when we just walking around with our camera, because I used
Mhm.
to give people the eye like, girl, stop. But it's just
Cause
a
you think they
part.
conceited. You
Yeah,
know
oh,
what I'm saying?
absolutely. They sitting there talking to the camera in the restaurant, and I'm like, is that even a thing? But y'all, it's a thing. It's really a thing. And then
Mhm.
too, I feel because of the times we live in, everything is just digital, right? So you see the millennials walking around, and it's normal. They don't even look at people like side eyed or anything, because it's just something they do.
Mhm.
Now, listen, I'm not technically like a younger millennial, but I'm gonna still, throw myself into the category. So
Uh-huh.
we would walk around and look at these kids, we say, like, stop it. But y'all, it's so much fun if
It
you
is.
really get into it. So the one piece I'll say this, and this may be a question down the line, I'm not sure, but if it's something that you have been thinking about, do it. Okay, that's just it.
And I'm really glad that you said that because if it's something that you are thinking about doing, that's so true. Do it because right now is the time for you to start building your following.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you say, well, I'm just going to throw this to the side, it don't matter. Start it so you can
Mm-hmm.
start building these individuals who are also interested in the same thing that you're interested in as well. So, Asha,
Yes.
can you go ahead and tell the viewers just what grade you're in and what do you want to be when you get older?
Hello, everyone. I am now a senior at Winter Park High School. And, after graduation, I would like to become an athletic trainer. So my
Nice.
field of study will be sports medicine. And eventually, I would like to become a team doctor
Mm-mm.
for, maybe the major league sports.
So let me ask you something, Asha. When you say a team doctor, are you saying there's one doctor for one team and then they have people that help them that and you tell them what the other people are supposed to
Yes.
do?
Well,
Okay.
it's more of a network type of thing,
Okay.
but there is like people like they have the title like, oh no, I'm the team doctor, and that's just like the upper head. So if the doctor gives the okay, then everything else can follow.
Okay. 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 So I'm going to start my question to you, Shureka. What would you tell someone that wants to be a blogger but thinks that they can't because they don't think that their life is interesting enough?
Oh my goodness. If you don't do it right now, that's my advice to people.
Yeah.
Because listen here, y'all. We are a nosy society, okay?
Uh,
We don't care what it has to do with. We want to know what you eat, what you drinking, what you watching. There are people out there, just because you don't think it's going to not be interesting,
mhm,
that does not mean that people gonna look at you like nobody wants to hear that. You would be so surprised, honestly.
mhm.
Y'all would be surprised at some of like the YouTube content that I sit up and watch. Definitely not anything
Your
I would,
research. That's your research.
girl, my research. So it's just like, don't think that you aren't living an interesting enough life, because I mean, of course, every day is not going to be exciting. Of the 7 days of the week, yes, 3 may be those days that you just lounging around the house. But get this, those are the type of videos that I sit up and watch. I watch people clean up, I watch people cook. So don't think it's not going to be interesting, because
Mhm,
you never know. People are nosy. People just
mhm,
want to know things. So get out there and do it, okay? Because I think if we sit back and think, "Oh, nobody's going to watch my content, or nobody's going to, read my blog post," it's going to continuously, increase the doubt that you already have. So don't do that. You just
mhm,
get out, and then you'll start to see, oh, people kind of liking this. You'll never know until you start. So,
mhm, mhm.
Okay, so with that being said, what motivates you to put the things that are on your blog?
so for me, it's about being straight authentic. Okay. I'm not going to pull something out of the sky and decide that I'm just going to write about it that day. I'm absolutely not going to do that. So everything I write about is something that I'm extremely interested in. So, of course, fashion is just one thing that I absolutely love. I love everything about beauty. When you hear people talk about lifestyle, it's just, decorating the house and things like that. So, I am only going to write about things that interest me. Because
Mhm.
if you start writing about something that you're not quite interested in, what you think that's gonna be like for other people? Like, seriously, nobody's gonna care about it. So I feel like you have to make sure that it's something that you're passionate about, because then I think people can kind of feel that energy. You know what I
Mhm,
mean? So
mhm.
definitely only things that I'm interested in.
So, do you feel like in order to be successful, that it's necessary to talk about personal things on your blog? And if so, how did you become comfortable with doing that?
So I think for that one can be a little bit two-sided. And I say this only because when you go back to, just like I mentioned about, being genuine, right? You want people to feel that you're relatable. We see all of the Photoshop Instagram photos. We see the nicely edited YouTube videos. And people think that's reality. But I think when you start to think about, bringing people into your daily life, whether it's through a vlog or, an actual post, people aren't going to be interested in it if they feel like you're not a real person. Because bloggers, creatives, all of us, we're real people. We have good days, we have bad days. So I feel like when you decide that this is what I want to do as something that I'm going to pursue on a regular basis, at that point you have to get comfortable with the fact that you need to let people in a little bit, because I feel like the more relatable you are to people, they'll just gravitate towards you because they feel like, you know what, I kind of like following Shureka because she seemed like she's a real person.
Mhm.
Unlike what people see when things are edited and cut down and all of that. So I feel like it's extremely important. I feel like I've also just done a good job with, bringing people in. I love photography and all of that. So, it's not really anything I hide. Have I gotten, to a point where I wrote about like a really intimate topic or anything like that? Not necessarily, but that's not to say that I won't. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
feel like as you are, becoming more into like the creative side of things, video
Mhm.
recording and editing and vlogging, blogging, all those types of things, I think you honestly just start to kind of loosen up after you've done it for a while. And
Yeah.
then you just don't care about sharing it with people. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I think it's definitely something you want to think about before you jump into it. Because if you're not willing to like share other information with people aside from what you should pair with these particular pairs of jeans, then you might run into some issues down the line. So
Yeah, yeah. And
yeah.
I do want to give a shout out to Deidre Ward, who is tuning in. Uh,
Sister.
that's your sister, you said?
Yes.
Okay, well, sister, make sure you go ahead and share this video. If you're just now tuning in, you are watching Today I Want to Be, our career exploration interview. Today we are talking to Shureka Ward, and she is a fashion, beauty, lifestyle blogger. All of her contact information is in the description box. So you might be saying to yourself, what in the world is Today I Want to Be? I actually created this company so that young people will have an opportunity to explore different career fields and be able to talk to these individuals and professionals who are actually working in this career right now. So I'm really excited. I know you probably like, well, Martinique, why are you telling us about this now? But I'm really excited about next year because I will be featuring Black men as well. So if I know, right? So if you are interested in getting on the email list of when I will start selling the calendars, it's going to be two calendars. So the men and women will not be together in one calendar. So many people think that, but they will not be together in one calendar. It's going to be two separate. I was about to say two separate. It's going to be two separate calendars. But if you are interested in being notified when we start selling those calendars, as well as our career exploration interviews, and how your child, your niece, your nephew can be also a co-host like Asha, then make sure that you DM me or you put in the comment field your email address, and I will add you to that. So go ahead, Asha. Oh, I do have a question. It's a follow-up
Yes.
question.
Yes.
um how do you not compare yourself with the other bloggers that you see? Because you are, in order to become your best, it is good to also watch people's videos who are already at those million subscribers. So you constantly have to watch their videos. How do you not compare yourself and still stay authentic?
That's a great question, Martinique, because I feel like at some point, I'm not going to say every creative, and I'm just kind of grouping everybody together when I say that. I'm not going to say everybody feels the way, but I feel like when you first start, you can't say you haven't watched so many other creative people and like, oh my goodness, I want to, get to where they are. you will at some point, but you also have to be mindful or remember, you don't know how long they've been doing what they've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
So the same people that have those 300,000, Instagram subscribers or followers that you're longing for,
Yeah.
you don't know how long it took to get to that point. But I also think confidence comes into play when it comes to expressing yourself and sharing yourself with the world, just say, confidence is something I've never had an issue with. So I think I am able to be mindful when I'm looking at other people for inspiration. I think you have to think about it that way. When
Okay.
I look to other people for inspiration, I'm like, oh, that's such a great idea. But I'm also a person who is clapping for everybody around me, no matter what it is. So I definitely think you can sometimes get caught up in the numbers. And I feel like that's something you really have to, it doesn't make sense when you hear it out loud, but you have to separate yourself from the numbers,
Mm-hmm.
because of course we all want subscribers, we all want the followers and everything, but I feel like when you are only thinking about that, the content could easily get clouded and you're only doing something because you see somebody else doing it. But I also think the readers, the viewers, the followers, the subscribers, they will notice that as well. Like, I wouldn't just show up tomorrow and and publish a YouTube video about doing pranks. When have you guys ever seen me talk about a prank? So people can tell when it's genuine and when it's not. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? So yes, it's extremely hard, but I think you also have to remember that you're trying to build your own path. You're not going to follow somebody else's path. And this is just something, no matter what profession you're in, you have to take the steps to build your own. So it can definitely cause clouded judgment, I think. But you also have to just remember who you are and just try to stay authentic to yourself and to your audience.
That's good.
So
That's good.
Now, was it hard for you to build that community of people who supported you and encouraged you?
oh, absolutely not. Because I have just great friends. So, for me, it's like when you surround yourself with positive, supportive people, you can tell. So, I'm not really striving for every single person that looks at my photos or watches my video or read a blog post. I'm not really striving for every single person to like me, because I think I have a good cheering section anyway. So for me, that's just something that I've always had. So it wasn't hard for me to, try to get accepted into other groups. If it doesn't work, it just doesn't work. But I've always had very supportive friends and family. So that's just something I hadn't had to think about.
That's good. So now Trinessa Williams says she loves your style.
Thank
And also
you.
Trinessa is going to be featured in September. She's actually our African American literature bookstore owner. Try saying that.
Come on, literature. Thank you so much.
So, how do you actually balance your time between your full-time job and blogging?
So for me, the blogging is, because I like it so much or I love it so much, it's just more of like a hobby. Like, it's not a hard balance for me, because in my leisure time, I may, be sitting up watching TV, and then I might pull out my phone, go to my notes screen, and I either think about a blog topic or just kind of start writing. So I feel like when you start to think about like the creative side of things, if you absolutely love it, you're not necessarily going to look at it as if like, oh man, I'm so exhausted. How am I going to balance my regular Monday through Friday gig to my creative stuff? It just kind of comes, you know what I mean? So I've never really had an issue with balancing the two, because again, when I'm not working Monday through Friday, I'm typically a homebody. That might sound a little funny, but I'm typically a homebody. So like I say, when it comes to writing or recording, it's nothing for me to just sit out and pull out the camera, or, say, hey, let me write a little bit. So I think that's something I've just never had an issue with or a hard time doing, simply because it's more of leisure fun for me. So it's pretty relaxing. So it's just something I've never had to even think twice about.
But if you have to, okay, so I do my talk shows and everything
Mm-hmm.
with the authors and anybody else that I want to talk to.
Right.
I have to also edit the videos. I hate
Mm-hmm.
editing, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and so I know that you enjoy doing this, but there has
Mm-hmm.
to be some things that you don't enjoy doing.
What you said, editing. Editing is no joke. So
Mhm.
that's why when you invite people to watch this product you have produced, it can be it's extremely time consuming, as you may
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
So it may start out fun. Like once you learn how to, add these extra sound effects or pretty text or whatever it may be. But after a while, if you find yourself getting behind, I think that's usually when it's kind of one of those things that it might become stressful, right? Like,
Mhm.
say, for instance, you're working, on a sponsored video, which is pretty collaborative with brands and things like that. Say you're working on something and you kind of procrastinated too long. It's not fun at that point, because it's just work is what
Yeah.
it is. So I think there are many areas that can be, time consuming, but not necessarily to make me not like it, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So
Yeah.
editing is definitely one of those things. It's like, if you create content, you just know, if I'm recording it, I'm gonna have to edit it. So let me
Mhm.
just get myself in the right mindset.
Yeah.
But I feel like, when I'm not putting too much on myself, if I don't have 3 videos to edit, 4 videos to edit, I'm not feeling stressed about it. So I can still then do it as a leisure something. I tend to, like, with YouTube videos, if I do record a makeup video or whatever it may be, I'm still sitting watching TV and I'm just kind of editing along the way. So it still, for me, tends to be more of a leisure
Yeah.
situation, as opposed to, oh, I have this deadline to get this done. Now, that's a different story. That
Mhm.
does become stressful and kind of will make you panic. But for the most part, I think I'm pretty good with that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought light to that, because a lot of people actually don't know that with students and
Mm-hmm.
filming the school news, that
Oh.
yeah, with filming the school news, you have 50 minutes to record the school news, and then you have 50
Mm-hmm.
minutes to edit and produce that to the entire school. So they don't see the pressure, and they don't see,
Right.
the frustrating parts of it. They just see the finished product, and they're like, oh wow,
Mm-hmm.
that's so nice, you guys are great. And we're sitting there like, whew, you don't know
It
what it
takes
took
50
to get
minutes
that.
to do like 2 minutes.
Yes, it's a
Crazy.
lot. Y'all, it's a lot. It's the same thing with photography, right? So we go out here as bloggers. Of course, you want to make sure you have good quality content. So it's like, you go out and you do these photo shoots. Yeah, the photos look bomb, but when you was outside changing in that little tent into your next outfit in the
Mhm.
hot sun,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily fun. So it's like, you see the finished product, but you don't know what it took people to get to that. Just like I said earlier, we see these people with thousands and thousands of subscribers and followers, but we don't know how long they've been doing it. We don't know what it took to get to that point. So that's why when we say, please watch this video or please share this video,
Uh-huh.
that's why.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So with having a job in social services, was that something that that you've always wanted to be a part of, or was it something that you just kind of stumbled upon?
So I definitely didn't stumble upon it. Looking at me, you may not know that I have a background in corrections. Okay. So my first real job in college, I was a correctional officer. I mean, CO suit and all of that kind of stuff that was not cute. Okay. But with corrections and social services, they just kind of go hand in hand. You're
Mhm.
kind of not going to have one without the other. So whether you dealing with, someone who is involved in, the prison system because of drug abuse or whatever it may be, you never really know what mental illnesses or whatever were underlying issues. So I feel like when you start to think about, like some people do stumble upon certain careers. And honestly, later, and since I'm kind of later in life, deciding that I want to branch out more with the blogging and all of that, I kind of stumbled upon it, even though I love it. You know what I mean? But with corrections and social services, I mean, y'all, they like twins. It's like, it's going to be something. So it's pretty much something that has just always been there. Yeah. So professional background, that's what I do when I'm not playing in makeup and playing in clothes.
So how do people actually make money as a blogger?
So there are so many ways. Like when that was one of the first things, right? You know how I talked earlier about how people are just looking at these people like, y'all quit playing with that camera, or quit doing this and doing that. You have ad revenue that comes in, just say for instance, YouTube videos, when you watch those ads, turn into money for the video creator. You have partnerships with different brands, sponsored posts. So when we see people on Instagram, advertising flat tummy tea or whatever it is, just know that they're most likely getting paid for that post. You have ambassadorships where you are, pretty much an ambassador for certain brands. There are so many ways, but I think as a blogger, one of the ultimate things that you eventually want to do is you want to work with these top brands. Right. So when we're watching the makeup videos on YouTube and you hear the YouTubers say, oh yeah, Revlon sent me this huge package of makeup and all of that. You have that, you've built that relationship with them, and you usually get that one good sponsorship or partnership, and it turns into so many things. So when you're seeing all of the, hey, y'all should go buy this because it's so great. Most likely, it's one of those things that they're getting paid for. And I think too, that's why it's such a major thing in the blogging and advertising world now, that you have to disclose when you are working with these different brands and the different companies, so that people know, hey, you're not just telling people to get it because you absolutely love it, but there is some type of affiliation there. You have licensing is something which comes down later, in your blogging or YouTube career, where you might actually partner with these brands and make items with your name on them. So there are so many ways that people can really bring in money. And y'all, it's not just little bitty money. Like it's a lot of money that can be made in this industry. Yeah, far more than any of us would ever think. You know what I mean? We go to college and we spend all this money to get these degrees, and then you looking at people over here who've only been doing like creative things, and I say only not to say that to diminish it in any way, but you see people doing these creative things and you're like, they ain't go to college and making all of this money. So you almost get a little mad, like, wait a minute, I spent how much on that degree, but I didn't really have to. So there are just so many ways that money can be brought in. But honestly, when you build a brand for yourself and people feel that you're authentic and you are great at what you do, eventually partnerships and things like that, people will just start reaching out to you. So that's what I'm getting to, the point where like, hey, I'm free, I want a partner. So yeah, it's money to be made.
That's good. So now I keep hearing you saying like a distinction between blogging and YouTubing. Are you saying that everybody that is a blogger don't have to be on YouTube?
Correct. Many people don't. Like, I watch lots of YouTubers that never really started out with a blog. When you think about a blog, you think about a place that you can go and get good information, right? So say, for instance, I'm going to do an outfit of the day, post with what I'm wearing right now. I'm going to let you know where I got everything. usually when you have YouTubers that do blogs, much of the content that they may talk about in their videos, they'll also link on their blog. So it's kind of like, going hand in hand. Some people just may not be interested in actually creating video content. They're more so interested in, just sharing information. So if you're just wanting to share information with people, letting people know, what you picked up from the grocery store, or you want to cook for people and share recipes, blogging is probably going to be the thing for you. But if you are interested in like, hey, let me put my face in somebody's camera type of thing, then you might decide, okay, let's link what I'm talking about here over here. So it kind of has people going back and forth. Do you know what I mean? So they'll kind of follow you in both locations. But as a blogger, you don't necessarily have to create YouTube content.
And so what advice would you give to a person who, is trying to find their, I guess to say, their reason, for life?
You know what? I think that's one of those questions where you really just have to tell people to follow their heart or follow what they love. And y'all, yes, that absolutely sounds cliche. That's something we see on the quotes or something we see on the t-shirts, but y'all, it really is such a real thing. If you love something so much, and you might be afraid that people won't like it as much as you, let's throw that out. You truly have to follow what you're interested in, what interests you. You can't listen to all of the little talk that's going on around you. You really have to follow your heart. And I really wish I could have said something real cute that didn't sound like, it was on like a Hallmark card. Yeah. But y'all, that's honestly just what it is. That's honestly what it is. Follow what you love. Don't think twice. Well, not necessarily twice, but don't think too long about starting something that has been just like a mere thought or idea. Because I will honestly say, when it came to, do I want to create YouTube videos or do I want to do this, and that? Y'all, I thought about creating a YouTube channel. I want to say I first thought about it in like 2009-ish, 10. And for the longest time, I'm like, I can't just be on the camera, just talking to the camera. That's all I would say. But then years and years passed and life just started happening. So at that time, I didn't even have time for it anymore. You know what I mean? And then when it came around again, a few years back, I was like, okay, I thought about this way too long. So y'all, don't procrastinate, because had I started back in 2010 or whenever it was an initial idea, my life would be completely different than what it is now. And I would have 10 years in the game at this point. So it's like, don't think about it so long to where you are going to cause yourself to be like, okay, never mind.
And I'm so glad that you said that, Shureka, because it's like, oh, I wish I would have started, back then. But just the simple fact that you said, you know what, I do wish I would have started 10 years ago, but you know what, I'm starting now. And so I just feel like the beauty of it all is, as we grow up, we begin to discover the things that we truly enjoy doing. I know one of the things my mom would ask me is, like, why do you ask so many questions? And I'm like, I don't know why I ask so many questions, and so that's why I turned what I enjoy doing into like a business. And I've just always been curious about why people choose the jobs that they had decided to go into. And that's another reason why I'm so thankful for you and the other 11 ladies, just because I can pick your brain and you won't be like, if this girl don't quit asking me.
Right. No, yeah, absolutely.
And so I'm so thankful that you guys are patient with my questions. But I do have a question on the floor. It's coming from Regina Patterson. Shout out to Regina. Thank you for tuning in, Regina. Make sure you go ahead and share this video now. So her question to you, Shureka, is what if you love something and don't have great talent in it?
Practice makes perfect, Regina. So let me say this. When it came to editing videos, recording videos, I was so interested in it. Y'all, all of this creative stuff that I'm talking about, these are not things that I went to college for.
Yeah.
Like, I did not study these. These are all self-taught things.
Mm-hmm.
Self-taught makeup artists, self-taught fashion stylists, self-taught video editor.
Yeah.
So I feel like when you love it enough, you may just decide to kind of engulf yourself in it for, say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, the next 2 months. Watch all the YouTube content you can, read all of the articles and self help things that you can in that 2 months, and then just jump out on it, girl.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I knew how to do none of this creative stuff. You know, I've turned into I'm a graphic designer now. I've turned
I
into
know,
some
right?
digital stuff, right? No,
Yeah.
I have not one degree in any of these things.
Uh-huh.
But because I loved it so much, I just studied it and I taught myself how to do it all. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you love it, Regina, give yourself a little time frame. Say, hey, in this next 6 weeks, I'm going to know how to do this. And then just start increasing the talent from there. And you'll be ready in no time to just step right on out and do whatever you're doing.
That's good. And I think another thing is, and not saying that this is your situation, but with anything, maybe you can't afford to have somebody do X, Y, and Z for you. So you have
This
so
girl.
yeah. So I can't afford to pay somebody to edit my videos,
Right.
so I had to teach myself how to do this editing. And like you said, you go out there and you just do it. And I'm telling you, especially when you create things, you will really see a difference from when you started to where
Mm-hmm.
you are now. And you will
Yeah.
see that progression of how much better you have gotten. And it's
Mm-hmm.
okay to pat yourself on the back because you're like, I'm telling you, if I can pick this up, I can pick
Yes.
anything up. And it really does build your self-confidence.
It does. It does. So you hear that, Regina? That's what you're gonna do. You're gonna study it for the next month or however long it takes, and then you just get out there, you just practice, and then you're gonna be ready to go.
So Renee Parks Bryan says this is so good. It is good, Renee, isn't it?
Thanks,
So,
Renee.
so Renee, if you could make sure you go ahead and share this video right now. So Regina has another question on the floor. She said, do you think it's worth investing in school or courses for those elements? Like, the editing and, your, maybe photography and things like that, that you are, have learned that you're interested in doing.
So for that one, Regina, I will definitely say, okay, some things do require a little hands-on. Okay. So I think because we live in such a digital world, there's just about a YouTube video that you can watch for every single thing. You might be able to watch that video, pick up on so many great things, but then you step back and be like, there has to be something I'm missing. I just don't want to give off to people that they have to go and get a whole college degree in a certain thing. There are so many little trade courses or online courses that you might be able to invest in. So I feel like if you are not getting it the free way, like if you honestly feel like I just need somebody to help me just a little bit more, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with going to maybe an outside source to see if you can, maybe take a class or two. It's just so many things that you can do that's free that people almost feel like, okay, I'm just not going to pay. But
Yeah.
sometimes you do need that little extra direction in
Yeah.
order to kind of push yourself over the edge. Now,
Mhm.
Regina, I'm not saying go get no 4-year college degree in whatever you're thinking, because it might not take 4 years. It might just take a 3-course class at, an online program or a local, community college or something like that. So if you feel like you aren't getting all of those key elements, the free way, then it's no harm in investing to make yourself better at whatever it is you're trying to do.
So Asha, I have a question for you. So I saw that you shook your head no. What's your thoughts about that? About that question Regina asked?
Well, I feel that way because personally, with me being in high school and having the class offered to me and me being in the class, that 9 times out of 10, you're finding out what you need on your own. Because yet, even though the class is free and it's offered, my teacher does not have time to come around to everybody and cater to everyone's needs. So most of the time, you're going to find yourself getting that information on your own, whether it be from YouTube, whether it be from, just a random website that you come across, or a person giving you like a little tip here and there. So that's why I say, like, no, you really don't need to pay for it. If you're passionate about it, then you will eventually like catch on to it. You will be able to do it on your own without, spending money.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and I'm like, both ways with it. I know that I'm personally the type of person that likes that instructor so I can ask those additional questions too. And I also don't mind, if I don't have the money, I don't mind going the free route, as well. But I do feel like, sometimes with the paid courses that we take, we're more likely to stay on track and disciplined. Because sometimes when you teaching yourself, you're like, I'll do it. I'll watch it tomorrow.
Do it tomorrow.
Instead of when you got something due and you done paid for this class. But I'm glad that we've been able to really just share our thoughts on that, because that is so true. And like I said, I'm thankful that we're able to just pick your brain on this, Shureka, because everybody for every career does not have to go to school, but you do need to hone your skills, in different things, and there's different avenues in ways that you can do that. So, what would you actually tell your younger self, Shureka?
So
let me tell you something, Shureka.
Yes.
I got that question from Asha because she asked one of our other professionals that. I'm like,
okay, Asha.
I'm gonna use that for so all professionals that's watching that you gonna be featured, that's gonna be your question. So
that's awesome question, honey.
That's a good question.
It is. And I think it kind of goes back to one of the earlier questions you asked me, where I talked about not procrastinating too long or not thinking about things so long that you talk yourself out of it, right? Because even when I gave the whole little story about, me wanting to start creating YouTube videos 10 years ago, that was my younger self back then, and it's kind of like, had I not thought about it, I thought about it, y'all, for like a couple years. And had I not kept thinking about it and kept playing around with the idea, like I say, I would have been creating videos. I would have been a content creator for like this last 10 years. So it's when it's something you love to do, don't procrastinate or take so much time to kind of talk yourself out of doing that. Because I think when we're younger, we're full of these bright, colorful ideas, right? And then you start to think about like whether it's the practicality or, just how it's going to, what it's going to take to get to a certain point. You have to kind of live in that moment. If you think about something that you're interested in doing, don't go back and forth with yourself for the years like I did, okay? Because that procrastination, it just kind of stopped you in your tracks. So every time you watch a YouTube video or every time you see somebody creating something, you constantly gonna go back to that moment and be like, man, that could have been me. Or I could have been doing that. So don't do that. Again, it goes back to that cliche saying of follow your heart, follow your dreams. That's something that we hear a lot of. And I think people don't really listen to it as much just because we hear it so much. Of course, it's like one of those Hallmark card statements that just makes its way around. So I think it kind of loses some of the validity behind it because we just see it printed on everything. But y'all, it really is something that I think you should really take heed to, especially your younger self. For those of you guys out there in high school, Asha, you millennials out there, listen, things are not like they were back when, I was young and in high school. It was just straight up college. There are so many options for the young folk to take now. So don't let somebody else, that's planning to go to college talk you into going just because they're going. If that's not your passion, and I know I shouldn't be telling nobody kids not to be going to college because my niece is headed
Let's
there
mute
in
you
the
right
fall.
now. We're gonna mute you
Look,
right
my
now.
niece is headed there in the fall. But I think, don't just go there with no intentions, right? So don't just go just because somebody else going, your best friend going. Think about what you're going to do when you get there. And hopefully it'll be something that you'll be able to use down the line.
Yeah, and I think that that's really good that you mentioned about like following and like really following what your passion is. I think another thing is sometimes people will tell us and remind us like who we are before we think we're really good at something. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, I was telling Asha the last time, I'm like, Asha, you just be on it. Like I asked her to write her questions up really quick and she just on it. And so I'm just
Right.
like, man, I'm sorry. But if you are Asha's parents, y'all did a good job. Because I'm just like, she is
My
really
dad's
on
on
it.
the
And I
back
really
porch.
just,
He's probably
huh?
watching. I said my dad's on the back porch. He's probably watching.
Well, I'm just like, I really just hope that, you continue that path to just be
Mm-hmm.
really disciplined and on top of things, and like, whatever. I just hope that you just stay driven in what you want to become and not let the world stop you from, being this team doctor. If you don't see any other Black women that's team doctors, you still pursue it, and so I just like the fact that, sometimes even when we don't look at ourselves as, oh, I'm not interested in stuff, interesting enough, and somebody say, man, I just love the way you do X, Y, and Z. Keep that going because it's
Mm-hmm.
so many times people are pulling you down, talking about you, and that's what we tend to remember. We
Mm-hmm.
forget about this stuff when people are saying you are really good at such and such. Don't just stay at you're really good at such and such. Although you may not have to go to college for it, or you do have to go to college for it, you still need to get that training so you can be the best at such and such, And so, like, we have to really push ourselves to be great. And I just love the fact, Shureka, that although you didn't do it in the past, you doing it now. You know what I'm saying?
Hello. Hello.
Yes, I love that. But Asha, I know you had another question.
Okay, so my question is, what is something that you wished was talked about more that isn't?
In relation to this whole creative aspect or just in
Or
general in
life
life?
in general? Yeah.
Asha, we can talk about racial injustice, racial, equality, racial discrimination, all of those things that we are seeing right now. It's sad to say, and I won't get too deep into it, but y'all, it's so unfortunate that people have to die for important topics to be addressed. So that's definitely something just in life that I wish was talked about or discussed, openly discussed, not when somebody dies, but just to keep people thinking and mindful, right? Um, in relation to like the whole creative aspect of everything, um, you will, if you're a creative, a Black, blogger, YouTuber, or whatever, it often comes up about how there is such a lack of diversity in the beauty industry or in the fashion industry. So those are some things, some topics that relate to what I'm doing creatively that I think should be addressed more. Of course, because of everything we're going through right now with Black Lives Matter, you see lots of brands, kind of using, the Black voice now, but you have to wonder, is this a genuine interest or is it just for the moment? You know what I mean? We don't know what's going to be going on in January of next year, but I think the whole lack of diversity, when you start to think about the creative side of things, I wish that were something that were addressed more, where Black YouTubers and beauty bloggers or creatives had the same opportunities as their counterparts, just because that's just kind of how it's been for so long. So I kind of gave you both, creatively and everyday, honey.
So why did you want to be a part of the Today I Want to Be calendar?
Oh my goodness. I just think it's such a great thing. So y'all, I do lots of mentoring with youth involved in the juvenile justice system, okay? So when you start to think about it from a mentoring aspect, you talk to kids or the young folk a lot about, ways to improve behavior and like all of those things related to what got you to, going to jail and all of those things. But also it's important to kind of talk to them. I talk to them about self-esteem and, self-respect, those types of things. And again, what you gonna do when you grow up is just part of that conversation. No matter if we're riding to the library or whatever, hey, what you thinking about, doing when you graduate next year or whatever it may be. So I was just so excited that the young folk get a chance to kind of watch these videos, hear from the professionals, and you never know. That just may help you make your decision on if you're going to be a realtor or a program support specialist. Like it gives the students, the kids, a chance to hear from people that are actually doing the job, as opposed to just like, hey, let me Google what they do. It's a lot more to what they do than what you're going to see on Google. So I just think it's a great message that you're sending out. I'm glad to see that you are getting the men involved, honey, because there are so many young guys that are also wondering this same thing. Like, what am I going to do? Do I want to do something that's a little bit on the masculine side, or do I want to kind of be that, creative mindset? So I just think it's just a great message all around. It's so informative. It's so educational, especially for those of us that have nothing to do with, being an African-American literature bookstore owner or whatever it may be. So I think it's just a good listen. We can sit down, hear people talk about what they do. So I think it's a great thing that you created.
Thank you so much. And I'm so excited that we had an opportunity to talk to you. We started this relationship back in August of last year. And so, and I actually know Shureka from, we're both graduates of University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. So if anybody is interested in going to that school, look, hey, it's there.
Taylor Ward, my niece.
Is she?
She is.
USPB.edu.
In August. Yes, honey.
Yeah. So, and neither of us are from Arkansas. Where are you from?
No, I'm from Arkansas.
Originally
from Helena. But I've been in Texas though since like 2007. Okay. So I've been in Texas for a very long time, honey. I graduated and got on down.
Got you. I got you. Well, if you are interested in, and I know that I'm like talking about this in the future, but I already have my people for 2021. For 2022, I will add on Hispanic women. So if you all know any Hispanic women that loves their job, please send them our website, www.todayiwanttobe.com. Again, that's www.todayiwant2b.com. I'm always looking for a co-host as well. So all that information is listed in the description box. Also, make sure you continue to share this video and go to the description box and follow Shureka on all of her social media handles as well and her blog. And let her know that you are following her because you first saw her on here as well. We hope that you guys have a great night and we will talk to you all later. Bye bye.